This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. We're broadcasting from the Sundance Film Festival here in Park City, Utah. A growing number of actors and filmmakers are pushing for a boycott of the Oscars after no actors of color were nominated for a second year in a row. No actors of color were nominated for an Oscar. While movies about African Americans like Straight Outta Compton and Creed did receive nominations, they went to the white writers of Straight Outta Compton and the white actor Sylvester Stallone for Best Supporting Actor in Creed. The African American directors and non-white actors were excluded. Director Spike Lee, actress Jada Pinkett Smith, actor Will Smith, and others have said they plan to skip the February 28th award ceremony. Spike Lee appeared last week on Good Morning America.
I've never used the word boycott. All I said was my wife, my beautiful wife, Tanya, we're not coming. That's it. Then I gave the reasons. So I've never used the word boycott. I never have said to anybody, it's like, do you? We're not coming. Not going. This whole Academy thing is a misdirection play. Okay, how? We're chasing the guy down the field. He doesn't have the ball. The other guy is high-stepping in the end zone. So it goes further than the Academy Awards. It has to go back to the gatekeepers. Studios. Yes, the people who had the green light vote. Have you seen Hamilton yet? I have seen Hamilton. You know the song, You Gotta Be in the Room? Yeah. We're not in the room. We are not in the room. The executive, when they had these green light meetings quarterly, where they look at the scripts, they look who's in it, and they decide what we're making, what we're not making. How about your own experience? You make your movies. Do you feel like you've been snubbed, like you haven't had a fair hearing? What won Best Film 1989? I don't know, actually. Driving Miss Effing Daisy. And which film did you have in 1989? Do the Right Thing. That film's being taught in colleges, schools, no one's watching this Driving Miss Daisy now. So it also shows you that the work is what's important, because that's the stuff that's going to stand for years, not an award, not whether it be a Grammy, a Tony, or whatnot. So even if you don't get the Oscar, there is some success, but there's still a huge problem in the whole studio system. From top to bottom.
That's Spike Lee being interviewed by George Stephanopoulos of ABC. The largely white male Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Scientists responded by pledging to overhaul its voting requirements and to double membership of women and people of color by 2020. The board of the Academy is currently 96% white and 71% white male. Here at Sundance, I spoke with award-winning documentary filmmaker Stanley Nelson, asked him about his thoughts on the Academy's response to the boycott.
I think, that helps to address the Academy's problem, but I'm not sure if it addresses the problem overall in Hollywood. That, again, is a media that's very dominated by white people, by white men, and those are the stories that they tell, and those are the stories that they've been telling for over 100 years.
And how does that affect our culture?
Well, I think it makes us kind of used to having a certain group be in the dominant role. That's who we're used to seeing. And not only us, but that media travels all over the world, and that's what the world sees. So I think it's very, Hollywood's very influential. So I think, Hollywood has to want to change. And I think that what's happening now that's good is that people are saying to Hollywood, you need to change. And so hopefully it will.
What do you think of the boycott called for the Oscars?
Well, I think that individuals should do what they want. I know that I'd have a hard time with what's going on to go there and sit there, in my fancy dress and clap. So I think there's a lot of people who just feel uncomfortable, and I think they should. And I think also the thing that's important, too, is that white people join in. If you care, then you need to also join in this boycott and in making Hollywood change.
What would make Hollywood change? What do you think would change society?
I think the only thing that was going to make Hollywood change is to boycott and for somehow this to affect the bottom line of Hollywood. The problem with Hollywood and the success of Hollywood are the same. Hollywood is making more and more money every year, so why should they change? But once the bottom line is affected, then Hollywood will change.
They say theirs. I don't think so. Filmmaker Stanley Nelson, director of Black Panther's Vanguard of the Revolution. It airs on PBS on February 16th. His other films include Freedom Riders and Freedom Summer. Still with us here in Park City, Utah, is Dawn Porter, the director of Trapped, which just had its world premiere here at the Sundance Film Festival, and she has directed other films, Gideon's Army, Spies of Mississippi. Your response here, Dawn, When you saw the announcements of the Oscars, all 20 actors and actresses, not one a person of color.
You know, it goes beyond actors and actresses. I mean, I think there's also an appalling lack of recognition of screenwriters, of directors. I have to say that the day the Academy nominations came out, I had such a sinking feeling of despair. I really was hopeful last year with the Oscars So White hashtag, with the conversation, with everybody's pledges to do better. Not only did they not do better, they did worse. How could it possibly be that in a year when so much fine work is emerging from actors, directors, producers, writers of color, that no one is recognized for their artistic achievements? And I think that that's a real problem.
There are feeders into the Oscars, like Sundance. Now, while there's the hashtag Oscars So White, at Sundance, it's Sundance Not So White. Do you feel that's true?
I feel it's absolutely true. I mean, you see coming in the documentary competition, which my film is competing, in which Gideon's Army competed 3 years ago, there 40% of the directors are women, and you also have, you have directors of color. But you see, once you move through that pipeline, those people disappear. It's as if, you know, Sundance didn't happen. So a film festival, it is one of the premier film festivals in the country. Where is all that talent being recognized?
Do you support a boycott of the Oscars?
I absolutely support a boycott. You know, this reminds me of when baseball was segregated, you know, the Negro Leagues. Does anyone really think that all of the talent that was in the sport was being recognized? How can you possibly look at the films that are coming out and think that the best, you know, the Oscars are supposed to represent the best of what we have to offer? How can that possibly be if none of these fine films are recognized?
And Spike Lee's comment that it's about the gatekeepers.
I think it absolutely is about the gatekeepers, but I don't think we should absolve the voting members of the Academy. I think that there's a real focus on there.
Dawn Porter, thanks so much. Her film is called Trapped. It airs on PBS in
June.
In June, and we will talk about it